Hi everyone, Barry here from Mitosu Crafts. Thank you for joining me today. For today's project, I'm going to show you how to make this lovely desktop perpetual advent calendar, suitable for obviously Christmas, but also suitable for any time of the year, depending on how you want to decorate it. So I'm going to show you how to make this exact project. But like I say, if you decorate it slightly differently, the whole thing can be used for anything you want. So countdown to any event, Christmas. These boxes also open up so that you can actually pop a nice little treat in here as well at some point. So you put that one there, and these open up. If I can remember how it opens up like so to pop some little treats in. So that's that. So I'm going to walk you through step by step now on how you can make this calendar. So first of all, you need to cut yourself 2 pieces of the same coloured cardstock at 8.5 inches by 7.25 inches, and you need 2 of those. In the same colour cardstock, you would also need to cut yourself a 7.25 inch by 6.1/8 of an inch piece of paper cardstock. Same colour as well, you would need to have yourself 1 piece measuring 8.25 by 4.25. And you guessed it, same colour again, you would now need to have 2 pieces cut at 8.25 by 4.25, and you need 2 of those pieces. So you need those all in the same colour cardstock. Then what you're going to need to do is you're going to grab yourself another coordinating colour, so a contrasting colour, and you will need to cut yourself 12 squares measuring 1.75 by 1.75. So you'll need to cut yourself 12 of those. Using the same colour, you will then need to cut yourself another bit measuring 3 7/8 by 1 7/8 of an inch. And then in the same colour again, one measuring here 3 7/8 by 3/4 of an inch right there. Grab yourself some designer series paper, so your chosen designer series paper, and you'll need to then cut yourself 12 pieces measuring 1 5/8 of an inch by 1 5/8 of an inch. So these are now the ones which will go on and get stuck onto those red or whatever colour card you have decided to use. Will go over there as a nice matten layer. Right, so 12 of those in your coordinating cardstock. Then you'll need to have yourself one here measuring 3 3/4 of an inch by 1 3/4 of an inch. And then that one there will then go on like that. And then you would then need to have yourself here one measuring 3 3/4 of an inch by 5/8 of an inch. And that's the one which is going to go on this part right here. You would also need to have yourself some ribbon. So I've decided to use myself some of all the trimmings ribbon combo pack. And I'm going to have some of the red here, and you'll need approximately 6 inches of ribbon, of your chosen ribbon, okay? To finish off, 2 more things, or a couple more things, you need to then cut yourself, you can stamp and die cut yourself some of the houses here, or something which you're going to then decorate and put the numbers on. So if you see, you'll see how it is in the pictures of how they look. So depending on how you're decorating, you'll need to have yourself 12 of your chosen pattern. So stamp it in a light ink and then die cut if that's what you'd like to do for that one. And then you would then need to have yourself some numbers. You would need to cut yourself 2 zeros. You need to cut yourself 2 ones. You will need to cut yourself 2 twos. You would also need a 3, a 4, 1 5, 1 6, which also doubles up as a 9 for later on. 1 7 and 1 8. Okay, so they're the numbers which you need to have cut out as well. All right, so I'll put those to one side and we'll come back to those. And there is a special order they need to be placed on the boxes. So just pay attention to those. I'll go through those later on, but there is a special order that I need to go on to make it work. All right, and for some decoration, what I've done as well is, again, depending on how you're going to decorate this here, because I'm using the Trim in the Town suite for this particular project, I've used the Designer Series paper here. So the Designer Series paper also matches the dies as well, which come with this particular suite. So I've gone ahead and I've gone and die cut the houses from this, and I have then also gone ahead and die cut another piece in Whisper White. So depending on how you want to decorate it will be depending on what you use, but for this particular project, that's how I've used it. So I have used the die cut out the houses and then done it in Whisper White, and then what I will do is I will then back that onto it. All that's going to do is just give it a little bit of stiffness so it stands up and it's not going to be too flimsy. Even so, that the paper itself is actually quite solid anyway, but just by popping another bit of Whisper White on the back of that just gives it another little bit of stiffness. Okay, so but again, it depends on how you're decorating. This will depend on how you want to do it. So if you're changing this up, then your decoration will be down to how you do it. But the box construction is going to be exactly the same, regardless of how you decorate it. So we want to grab in our pieces of cardstock which we have cut down to size, and we're going to start with box number 1 first, so the first one which we cut. And you're going to need to bring yourself in your scoreboard. If you haven't got a scoreboard, you can use a trimmer. So as long as you've got a trimmer or you've got something that you've got the ability to score with, I prefer for box making, I prefer to use a scoreboard, because I find that you're going to get accurate measurements every time. That's just how I prefer it, because you will always be butted up into one corner. All right, so we are now going to score these. So let me get my measurements. So what we want to do is we want to score it along the short edge first, and we want to score it at 5/8 of an inch. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're then going to then score down there. We are then going to go to 2 5/8. So it's just 1 over the half. And then we go 4 5/8. And then we will then go 6 5/8. Rotate it round onto the long edge, and then we will then score it at 2. Make sure we don't jump out. 2, 4, 6, and 8. And we want to do that on both of these. So we want to pop that onto the short edge again, and we want to go at 5/8 of an inch. There. 2 5/8 of an inch. 4 5/8 of an inch, and 6 5/8 of an inch. Rotate it round onto the long edge and then score that at 2, 4, 6, and 8. Okay, so there's those 2 pieces done first. So that's box number 1 ready to get cut and decorated. We'll then move on to box number 2, which was this one here, which is a 7 1/4 by 6 1/8 of an inch piece of cardstock. And we want to score this along the short edge here at 1 inch and at 5 1/8 of an inch. Score it along the long edge, and then we want to score it at 1, 3 1/8 of an inch, 4 1/8 of an inch, and 6 1/4. Okay, so that is box 2 ready to be cut and decorated. And then your final one, grab the 2 pieces there which measure 8 1/4 by 4 1/4. And what we want to do is we just want to score these on the short edge at 2 1/4 of an inch. Rotate it round onto the long edge and score it 2 1/4 of an inch and 5 1/2. Okay, and the same on the other piece. Short edge 2 1/4. Long edge 2 1/4 by 5 1/2. Okay, so once you've got all of your pieces cut and scored, we now just want to bring them back in again. And we're going to start off with the first one, which we actually scored. So the ones with the lots of score lines in this one. And all we're going to do here now is we are just going to fold and burnish all of these lines. Okay. Oops. That's just my score tool just falling on the floor. And we'll do that for both of these. So what I would recommend you do is don't actually construct this box yet. We're going to decorate it first, and then we will then stick it together, okay? Because it's just a bit easier to make sure that you can get everything all lined up and looking nice. So there we go. So we've got 2 of those now like that. So what we want to do, I'm just going to bring in my template here. We now want to do some cutting away. So make sure you're holding it with the flap towards, the small flap towards you. And what we want to do is we want to cut away this corner and this corner here. So I'm just going to carefully go through and snip all the way down and then take out that corner right there. Same thing over here. Do that and take out that corner right there. Now what you want to do is just want to cut down the other score lines down to the second score line on both sides. So go past the one and to the second and rotate it round and do the same. Cut down to the first and the second. All right, now you want to just cut away half and half, and the same on that side there. Take away half there and take away half there. So that can all go to one side and that can go be used as scraps or in your bin. Okay, so it should now look like this. Gonna do the same for the other one as well. So make sure that the flap is down at the bottom. Cut away that one and that one there. That one. And then just cut down the score line again down to the second score line. On both sides. And then cut away those halves on the bottom one. Skip the middle. And then to that one there, and the same on the other side. That one, skip the middle one, and then do that. Okay, so you will now end up with 2 which look like that. Okay, if you've got it, doesn't matter if you haven't. If you haven't got it, I would just cut away and like notch away a corner. But if you have, just use yourself, just round off your corners. So I'm using the detailed trio punch here, and just round off your corners like that, on these two outer tabs. Just tidies it up nicely. And the same on this one here. So that's that one. So we just rounded those corners off there. Okay, so what you could do, obviously you could construct this now if you want to, but I wouldn't recommend doing that just yet. What I would recommend we do is we decorate this, okay? So we need to have it like that, but I'm going to just move on to the next stage and I'm going to come back and decorate this. So if you grab your pieces which you've got cut already from earlier, you've got your red squares and you have got your designer series paper. So these ones here measuring at 1 3/4 and these ones here measuring at 1 5/8 squared. So what we want to do now is I would recommend that you just stick these on to this paper. Stick your paper onto your cardstock, and then we can then move on to the next stage. I just found it's easier to do it this way because you can take your time in making sure that you get it all stuck and it looks all nice and even, and then we can then stick it onto the box beforehand. So I'm just going to crack on and do this. Okay, so once you have got all of your designer series paper stuck onto all of your chosen coloured cardstock, what I would suggest we do now is we stick these to the actual boxes before we construct. Okay, so it's important now that we do this the correct way. All right, so grab one template and have it stuck down like this. So you've got the small, so it's kind of like going in a bit of a V shape as you're looking at it. And then what we want to do is we want to then just stick these onto the paper, onto your card. So glue on the back of this, and we're just going to stick them here. I'll just show you where I'm going to stick it. So we're going to stick it there, 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 and there, and over there, and over there. And we're going to do that on both templates. Okay. So there we go. We have our two pieces now which look identical to each other like that. All right. So we will now just move on to the next part, the decorating. So you're going to need to take the houses which you have cut, stamped and die cut, or however you want to do it. And these are going to get popped in and stuck onto these panels like this on both of your cubes. Okay, so we're going to do that over on both of them. So I'm just going to stick those down for you right now. So we now have two pieces which again look identical to each other. So now the next part for these is the numbers, okay? So this is the important part, that you need to make sure that you have these numbers put on here in the correct order. So we're going to start off with 0, 1 and 2. So this is where these ones are going to be going. And we repeat that one on the exact opposite side as well. So we go 0, we go 1 down here on the second one. Ooh, got sticky fingers. And 2 here. And then what we want to do is we then go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So that's how you want to have your numbers stuck down. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stick those down now. So again, two identical pieces with all of those numbers. So take note of how those numbers have gone on, so that's how you want to stick them down. Okay, now what we can do is we can construct this box. So you just want to fold that number 2 flap over and pop some glue on that tab here. Bring the number or the 0 tab over and then just stick together. Hold, and then that's then constructed that, so we can then just pop the box together. Let's just leave that to one side just to dry up. Grabbing that again, so bring over your number 2 flap, bring over the 0 flap and stick those together. So that tab is now on the inside of the box. Okay, and then all we need to do, okay, I've forgotten to do it, is we just need to just take off a sliver off of these little bits here. Because what that would do is that would just help this box close up just a little bit like that. And then that goes over like that. And then we have got our nice box very solid box as well. So obviously because it's got a lid on it, you can open that up and you can pop some treats in that if you want to. So let's do that again. Let's just take a sliver off of those outer edges. And then that just comes over, tucks in like so, and then comes over and tucks in. It says like so. All right, so that's part. That's probably the most complicated part actually, is those two boxes. So now what you want to do is just grab the second box, and we're going to fold and burnish all of these ones here. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to decorate it first before we actually stick it all together. So you want to remove these two squares. So it doesn't matter what side, but you just want to remove two squares from the outer edge. Okay. And we then want to then cut in all of these up to that first score line. Okay, so that then is going to be the box which we are going to cover over. Good. So what I would suggest you do is that we just take off again a sliver, which I forgot to do on the first one, just a sliver from each of these little tabs. It will just help it close up just a little bit better. Just want to take a sliver off, not too much. Like that. Okay. And then that will then get folded over. So you're going to have one which is then going to be your, so that will then get stuck on as a whole flap there, like that. So we need to decide what one we want to be the front. So whatever side is going to be stuck together, that's the back side. So this is going to be the front and the top here. So you've got the bit folded down and going over. That's how I would do it. So you want to decorate the front and this part here, because these parts are going to get tucked in quite nicely and give you a nice edge. So it is this one and this one here. So if I just get a pencil, so front and front. So I'm just going to pop a pencil line on that one there and on that one. So you know, it's, as we're looking at it down here with your two parts which you've taken out, that one and that one there is going to be your top and your front. So grab your designer series paper and your bit which you cut earlier on, so your coloured and your bit of designer series paper, and we're just going to stick this together like that. And we'll do the same with the other piece, so the other one which you've got prepared. That one. Like that. And then we will then stick this larger one in place. So it's going to go in like that. And then we would do the same with the smaller piece. we can do is construct this box. So remember, we want that part to be on the outside. So we want to pop some glue on this bit here. So some glue on that side, and then we can then bring that over. And well, just as a little tip for you, and before I stick it down, just take a little bit of a sliver off of this end part here. We'll just make that close up a little bit better, because what we can do is we can fold that flat, and then we can bring that over. That's it. Just so yeah, sometimes you just might need to manipulate the card just to so it fits nicely. And then with this one here, you then want to then tuck in, and we can, because that's going to be on the outside, what I would recommend we do, because this is going to get stuck in, so we want to try and get a nice, let's see, does that work? Just a matter of just getting how it's tidiest. I prefer it the way that I did it to start off with. Okay, so because then we get a nice tidy edge on this one here, and because this is going to get stuck inside the box, so it doesn't matter, it's going to that it's showing. Okay, so grab your glue once again, and you can just pop some bits of glue on here, and bring those over, and then just some glue on that final tab on that side there, just to then bring it in and just to tidy that edge up. And if you need to, you can just put your bone folder in there just to push it down. Obviously you're not going to be able to do that on this side here. So in one tab, in the back tab, pop your glue on it, bring the bottom one up, some glue on that one, bring that down, and then some glue on the final tab, which is on the outside, and bring that one over just to tidy up that edge. Okay, so just hold that. Grab yourself your tape, and we're just going to take a little bit off of this, and we're just going to basically use this just to attach this side here. So just a little bit down, not doing a double sided on this, you don't need it, you just need it just so it attaches it on. And the same on the other side, so a little bit off, and then attach it that side like that, so in the middle, like so. So there is our front and the inside of that box right there. So they are then going to then sit on that as like as a little table. So it's all starting to come together now. So now with the piece here which you've cut, this one here, so what size was that one there? Just get that one down for you, which is the 8 1/4 by 4 1/4. You just want to now fold and burnish. This one's really simple, fold and burnish. That's all you need to do with that one. Then you're going to grab your two pieces here. So this is now really important that you just pay attention to how we've done this. So if we just lay them out together like that, so we've got it both going at so we've got the small square at the bottom here, the medium and the next size there. So as long as you've got the smallest square facing you, and then you want the score line, so the small part which is scored here, so this one here needs to be on the middle, so you then just need to then turn that one over so it's on the middle in the middle as well. So you've now got a mirror image of everything, and so that's how it's going to look like that. So we need to make sure we fold this one over like that, and fold that one over like that, so the score lines all go the same way. And then with this one, the same thing. So we're just really going against how I tend to always score so the lumpy part is in the middle. That makes sense. So it now looks like that. And then you then want to then fold this one over like that, and the same on the other side like that. So you've now got a mirror image of everything, which looks like so. What you want to do now is you just want to just make sure I get my diagram, just to make sure I cut this correctly for you. You want to be working on this smaller part first, so you want to take away the little rectangle here and then just notch it in ever so slightly. Pull that way, and then you want to do the same with the top part. Just cut away this little rectangle. And then just notch it up. Just make sure just come in just a little bit this side of the score line, okay? And you want to do exactly the same with the other one. So we're going to take away that there and notch it in. And we're going to just come in just ever so slightly before the score line and then cut into it like so. Just tidy that up. I just pulled that like so. Okay. Then what I would recommend that we do as well is that we just want to take off with this one here. So with the bigger part, which is in the middle, and with the top part here. So you just want to you've got that, turn it around so it's facing you. And all you want to do is just take a tiny sliver off both sides down to the first score line. So you're literally just cutting a tiny bit away. And you want to do that on the other side as well. So on the same panel, but the opposite side. Down to that score line. Right, so it's just a little bit smaller. It just makes it a little bit easier when it's all going together when we're sticking it. Okay, because all we were doing is just creating a little bit of a gap here and here, so the two don't interfere. Now once that's done there, you just want to pop some glue on this tab on this side. And then we then butt it together and then fold it over. So you just want to make sure that your score lines match up here and here. And the same thing on this side over here. Now, I said you can either come in before, a little bit, what you can do is you can actually notch it off a little bit so it doesn't interfere, doesn't interfere with that score line. So if you are finding that it's going to interfere, just notch it and it will be fine. Butt that up, line up the score lines and then fold it over. So you want to try and get a nice tight fit, but then because we cut away that little sliver earlier on, that will then, if you've got a nice tight fit, then that will then compensate for that, so it will make sure everything folds in quite nicely. So that's that. So you will now end up with one piece which looks like so. So the next part is we just want to construct this. So now you can either go on the outside now, or you can go on the inside. I prefer taking it on the inside because you can get a tighter fit. So we've got this base here. So I'm just going to pop some glue on the bottom of this one. And bring that over and then stick it together, and then I'm just going to eyeball it and then just make sure I've got a nice edge here. And the same thing on the other side, fold it over, bring some glue. Like that. And then eyeball it. And then just stick that in. Just gonna make sure you get a nice tight fit. So try and line it up with that score line as best as possible, because that there is then going to then fit in our box. So the tighter you've got that, the better it is. Whereas if you go the outside, I find it just gives you a little bit, it just adds a little bit more width to it. So, and then it doesn't quite sit in there quite nicely. So once you've done that one, it's a matter of just popping some glue on each of these panels here. So you could have done this first actually. And then stick that down and just line it up so that we get a nice edge. We want to bone fold that in. Same thing on the other side. And then bring that over. Okay, and then the final one, some glue on this panel right here. And then bring that over. Now, because you took away that little sliver earlier on, is now what makes that fit in quite nicely. Okay, if you hadn't taken that sliver away, that would be struggling to fit in there now, because you've got some thickness here, but a bit of thickness that side, and it doesn't quite fit in. All right, so that there is your base. So then that should then fit in there quite nicely, like so, like that. And then the boxes will then fit in here. So what you want to do now is I want you to pop some glue on the bottom of this one. And some on the back. And some on the sides. So you just need to be careful now that you don't do that. And stick it to your table. All right, and then we can then slide that in and get that stuck in there. Okay. So you just want to now stick that. So just be careful with your glue and don't do what I did and drop it. Okay, so that there is now stuck in that quite nicely. What you're going to need to do now, I would recommend you do, is we want to cut away this corner here. Now I'm going to grab some larger scissors. If you've got some larger scissors, that's great. If not, it's not an issue. You just need to just go carefully. So you just want to cut away from that corner down here to this corner up here. And then we go down from that corner down to that one right there, and then that just finishes off that box like that. And because we've got the glue on the inside there, it then just holds that in, holds those sides in quite nicely. And that pretty much is the box. So you can, these now sit in quite nicely. So, and that is the decoration done. All right, so you've now got so you've got your 0, 1 through the way, all the way through to 31, depending on how. So you just need to find 31, so you just need to be mixing and matching as you're going along. So to finish this off and decorate, I said at the beginning I've got some bits which I had already cut. So using the designer series paper, so I've then die cut out the houses. So again, depending on how your decorating will be different for this one. But I've got my houses like that, so, and I've got my larger ones, so, and I double backed it, so I got some Whisper White and I just cut it again in white, because what I wanted to do was I just wanted to then give it a little bit more stiffness, like that. And then we are going to make a scene. So I'm going to let that one dry and I will work with the ones I did earlier on. So first of all, I'm going to stick 2 houses on the side here. So I'm just going to eyeball it. So that's going to go there. So I know I need to put some glue on the back side of this, put in this area. So like that. And then that can then go on the side like that one. And I do exactly the same the other side. So it's going to be the other side of the house. So it'll be this part here now. So you want to just be careful that you don't go over too much. So otherwise you'll end up popping it on this side, which is going to be exposed to the box. And I'm going to try and get that in roughly the same position. Yep, it's roughly about that. Okay, so that's that one. And then I grab this house which I've done earlier on. So I'm just going to need to pop a little bit of glue on the back side of this. And we will then stick that in there like that. I'll grab this one here, and again, same thing, a little bit of glue along the back side here. And we will then stick that over like that. Grab a tree, and we can then just stick that in and tuck it behind one of these houses. So now I know I'm happy with that. I can just pop a little bit of glue on the back of that house here. I can then grab my tree and I can pop some glue on this tree here as well. And then just stick all of that and hold all of that together. Just like so. So obviously the decoration will be dependent on what you are using, and obviously what you decide, yeah, what you're actually using. But that's what I have used just to create a nice calendar. Bring in our boxes, and we'll start it off at 0, 1, and there we go. We have our perpetual advent calendar. And remember, these opened up so you can pop a little treat on the inside. Okay, so there we go. There is my advent calendar for you, like that. Okay, thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye for now. Bye.